All right. Welcome to UkeTV episode 7. Today we got a behind the artist section or episode with Mika Kane. How you doing, buddy?
Gee, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. It's been just a few months since we saw each other, but how's everything going?
Just been busy as usual, and but I'm not complaining because all of these things that I'm busy with is all ukulele related, including this very interview itself. So again, thank you for joining in on my hectic schedule, but it's great. I'm glad to be able to share some of my background and some stories with you, and
Yeah,
then for
man.
the viewers. I'm super excited.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, no, I've been excited for this one. Just I think a lot of people know who you are just in general if they've seen you either on
I
the
think
ukulele
all
site, which
200 people who watched the Ukulele Friend sounds out. All 300
oh,
people.
oh, I'm sure there's more than that. Plus, you got as you're sporting the ukulele site shirt today. I'm
Shout
sure
out to the
they
Ukulele site.
watch you as well.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to Andrew.
Andrew, Corey,
But
Calais, the gang. Yes.
yeah. We're gonna have all of them on it at some point. Andrew, I'm talking to you, buddy. But yeah, no, we're gonna have them. We're gonna have them all on at different times at some point. But that'll be fun. Yeah, so I mean, there are people that know who you are, obviously from the product demos and reviews and things like that.
Mhm.
But I think and I think all those people know that obviously you're an artist,
Mhm.
because otherwise, I don't think any demoer out there is just a demoer. I think usually it's an
Well, to
artist.
be on a platform such like Ukulele Site or Ukulele Friend, I think I got to know a little
Or
bit.
I guess maybe that's a good way to phrase it. But I think I'm sure there are also some that know that you do teach as well. But I think
Mhm.
there's going to be a lot of things in here, and we're going to get to all those things. But I think there's a lot of things that people may not know about you.
Mhm.
And I think the first place to start is sort of your background in music, because it's a little bit interesting compared to some of the different artists that I've spoken with or that I know.
Mhm.
You actually have a background in music, a degree in music, and there's even some more specifics in that in what your area you focused on. So
Mhm.
I think maybe let's start there and talk a little bit about your background and kind of where your education in music is.
Yeah, and I'll try to keep it brief because I'm sure as I bring up my story, it'll kind of pop up in possibly other questions, or we can go down that rabbit hole then. But to kind of give a brief overview, I started playing ukulele back in seventh grade on the island of Maui. I was born and raised pretty much my whole life up until I attended university here on the island of Oahu, here in Hawaii. Um, but what really got me started to playing ukulele were my friends back in middle school. To be specific, my bestest friend, even to this day, Bryson, and then two other friends at the time, Isaac and Dustin. Essentially, what was happening was back in seventh grade, you get to pick your elective classes. And
Mm.
as many times in sixth grade, seventh grade, and even eighth grade, I tried to get into the ukulele course that was being offered at my school, but they always stuck me in band. So I played alto saxophone for 2 years, which at the time was awful, but actually I'm very grateful because it exposed me to being able to read, sheet music or being able to read like piano sheet music and stuff like that. So I had an early introduction to be able to reading, rhythms and, accidental sharps, flat key signatures and all that good stuff. But I was still pouting and fretting because all my friends were in the ukulele class. However, those three friends at the time, I would catch bus up to the school and down, and they would rent ukuleles because my teacher or the teacher at the time would allow them to take the ukuleles home to practice. And long story short, they essentially would let me play their ukulele and they would be teaching me the songs that they're learning in class. So I spent about a year, maybe just a few months with my other friends at the time, Dustin and Isaac. But my bestest friend at the time, and still to today, Bryson, he stuck it out with me for at least a year until he finally broke up with me and he told me like, hey man, so like I don't have any more songs for you. Like that's it. That's everything. So you're kind of learning these things too fast and I can't keep up with you. So you're kind of on your own. I'm just like, what do I do? Because he's been pretty much
Yeah, I'm
holding my
stuck.
hand the whole time. He's been holding my hand the whole time and showing me and having that up close interaction. Like, hey, put your fingers here. This is the rhythm. So that was my kind of my start of learning how to play ukulele. So then after that, I went ahead and just started diving into YouTube. And at the time, for all of you who are familiar with YouTube back in 2009, 2010, you're lucky if you get a 360 quality video. You can't half speed, you can't quarter speed anything. So That's when I discovered Jake Shimabukuro. Just like a lot of people around my age group, I was heavily inspired by him, and just learned all of his videos essentially. And funnily enough, usually the most common song that people learn of his, the very first song, is "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." However, I don't know if I was just being silly, like very like ambitious or like over ambitious, but my first song was "Dragon," which is the
Oh
tapping.
wow.
Literally, when you're doing the like, that was my first song, and this was back in 8th grade. I think I was learning that. People were just like, what is that? Are you tapping on the ukulele? And this is 2009, so it's like, what are you doing? But anyway, so I just went down that whole entire rabbit hole and spent years going ahead and playing all of Jake's music, and then I ran into Kale Gamiao, who is technically my coworker or slash friend nowadays, which is crazy small world. But I went down the rabbit hole of learning a lot of his songs on YouTube. So I spent all of my high school years just pretty much emulating and copying and sounding like Jake, sounding like Kale. Kind of all of my repertoire was kind of going in that direction. Then I went ahead and applied to the University of Hawai'i Manoa here on Oahu, and to become a music major. And I got in. I sent in 2 audition videos of me playing one of Jake's songs and one of Kale's songs, and then I got accepted. And funnily enough, when I showed up day one, they're like, "Hey, congrats! So welcome to the music orientation. Hey, so we don't have ukulele over here, so here's a classical guitar." I'm just like, I don't know how to play guitar. They're like, "Well, here you are, you're a guitar major." So that was, maybe we can get into more details with how that went down. But essentially, I was a classical guitar major for about 2 years. So I studied under Ian O'Sullivan, he's one of my mentors and one of the people that I owe so much to with my technique and my classical technique. But he essentially mentored me for 2 years, from 2014 to 2016. And then at the same time, in 2015, this was my sophomore year at the University of Hawaii. While I was fully engulfed with the music program, learning theory, ear training, music history, all the good stuff. And I met Dr. Yosui, or Dr. Bryan Yosui, who is still to this day my mentor. I met him in 2015. It's 2023. He's still my I don't think I've ever told this to his face, and I don't think he's going to watch this, or maybe I'll show him this video later, but he's like my musical grandpa, essentially. And I think of him as family, and he's really taken me under his wing, and he's just been taking care of me of all ukulele or just music related things for the past 8 years. So he's been really my guidance counselor in the music world and the ukulele world. So I owe so much to him. But I essentially started working with him privately in 2015 and just been doing so ever since. And then he was one of the many reasons, or one of the key factors to me being able to graduate with my music degree with an ukulele focus. And I'm sure we can go into that later in the interview as well. But not a ukulele degree, but a music degree, a Bachelor of Music degree, or Bachelor of Arts music degree with a ukulele focus, because I used my senior recital as my senior capstone to go ahead and graduate with my music degree. So that's just to kind of clear up some maybe possible confusion, because people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, you got your ukulele degree." I'm like, I wish there was. There's to this day, there's still no ukulele degree, but like I got my bachelor's in music with ukulele focus. So I did that in November 30th of 2018. So that was like one of my highlight kind of performances, still to this day, 5 years later, of my life. And then after that, I started getting more into the teaching route. I taught at the Hawai'i Youth Correctional Facility. A lot of people are not aware that I went ahead and did that, because I don't talk about it too much, or maybe I just don't have the opportunity to go ahead and share that experience. But I was working in the boys and the girls youth correctional facility, teaching ukulele to them for 4 years, and went through many different students in there. In that facility. And then at the same time in 2021, I got my first offer to lecture ukulele here at a community college, at Windward Community College. And then this past year in 2022, I got offered to lecture ukulele, and both of these are beginning classes at the University of Hawaii West Oahu. So I've been doing that, and then and to add even more flames to the fire, or more oil to the fire, on top of doing all of that, I also teach private lessons pretty much full time, and have all of my private students from all over the U.S. and some other parts of the world. And then, like you mentioned in the intro, I also dab in doing sound samples professionally with Sean Yakovone of Ukulele Friend, and then of course Andrew Kitakis with Ukulele Site. I forgot to mention that I worked with Ukulele Site from pretty much the COVID time of 2020. To about a year and a half later, when I stepped down to go full time with doing my private lessons. And then last but not least, I also gig about 2 to 3 times a month with my gigging partner, Kalai Camarillo. We have a dedicated gig in Waikiki on Tuesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. So
Good Lord,
yeah, again,
man.
all ukulele related stuff, and it's just a blessing to be where I am, and I'm just thankful for so many people believing in me and giving me the opportunity to just do my thing. So
With your schedule, man, I'm surprised you didn't say, like, Mike, can we record at 7 o'clock your time, 10 o'clock my time?
like I can do 4 a.m. How's 4 a.m.?
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, 7 a.m. Oh, 4 a.m. my time would be a problem. 4 a.m.
Oh,
your
man,
time,
like,
that's
I'm a
okay.
night
I can
owl,
deal
then.
with 7 a.m. my time, but 4 a.m. that's a little early. No. Oh man, there's so much to unpack. I think so. A couple of things that I wanted to ask about.
Yeah.
You've got your degree in music, which I'm sure hundreds or thousands of people have a degree in music.
Right.
But with the part that is interesting and I think was a good clarification is the emphasis in ukulele. And it's not an ukulele degree, but it's an emphasis in ukulele, which is huge. I know, would that be awesome? But how many people have that? Have a music degree with an emphasis in ukulele?
So that's hard to say because, like, on a world scale, there's so many things that I'm not maybe possibly aware
Oh no,
of.
I mean just at Manoa. Like, do you know of others that have it, or are you the only one?
I was the first one.
Which is so bizarre. You're in Hawaii,
yeah.
right? And you're in a degree in music. This is why I'm bringing this up. I just think it's so fascinating that you've got this degree in music from the University of Hawaii at Manoa.
Right.
And
which is like the main school, the go-to school in Hawaii outside of
the biggest,
Chaminade.
the biggest, university in Hawaii, a major university just even outside of Hawaii. And you've got a degree in music with this emphasis in ukulele, and you're the only one that has that. That was the bizarre part to me when I learned of that, was like, wow. I wasn't sure, and that's what I was hoping to find out today, which you explained is what it means to have an emphasis in ukulele and what got you that. And that even still to me is bizarre that there aren't others that, have that. And I guess maybe if people are going for music degree, they're trying to go elsewhere with their career maybe. And so that's why they're trying to get emphasis in other things.
Right.
But it's that was the interesting part to me, and that's such a unique thing for you. And I mean, obviously it's been tremendous for what you've done all the way through till now. So
and let me tell you, that was the journey, because a lot of people see the end result, which is, hey, I heard, through the grapevine, I heard you got a ukulele degree, or you got the emphasis in ukulele, you got your music degree. A lot of people congratulate me, but it kind of brings me back to the times like, well, it was not an easy path, and all the stars had to align to get that to get going and stuff. And just like how you're surprised about why wasn't there anyone before you, and to this day there has not been anyone who's walked down the same path as I have. If I can go ahead and paint a picture for you, and then also the viewers of just the difficulty. So it all starts off with my story earlier about how, here, we don't have ukulele here, so here's classical guitar. So at the time, I was so frustrated. I was just like, exactly your thought, like, how can the main university, like, if not here in the University of Hawaii, where in the world would you be able to do this other than here in Hawaii? At the time, I was 18, 19 years old. You think you know it all. You're just very, just kind of frustrated. But now, being a lot more mature and just being a lot, my worldview's expanded so much over the years. I understand that. One of the main reasons is that a lot of ukulele players are not familiar with reading music. Even for me, before I was super fortunate because I took band, and then even like when I was taking ukulele in high school, our teacher would have us read some music and stuff like that. But a lot of ukulele players aren't either comfortable with reading sheet music, or just don't know how to, or maybe it's scary, because it is scary to go down that path. It's so much easier to go, read tabs or to watch videos or instructional videos and stuff. So the majority of the ukulele population just is not aware of or doesn't know how to read music, right? And the thing is, if you want to play music at that classical level, or playing music at that serious level where violinists and all the classical instrument people, they have to play all of these standard repertoire, which is from the classical era 200-300 years ago. So in the ukulele world, the ukulele is still kind of an infant, compared to the other classical instruments that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and there's so much repertoire and music written for it. Versus the ukulele, technically, it was created in 1879, but it wasn't really mainstream like it is today. Maybe until like 20 years ago, in the early 2000s, and arguably when Jake came out and just exploded it, everything exploded with it on the world stage. So the ukulele is still kind of in its infancy stage. So there's not a lot of repertoire to where an accredited university will go ahead and say, hey, yeah, like they can't just go giving out degrees like candy, because if not, the University of Hawaii will lose their accreditation status and stuff. So they have an extremely stringent process on, hey, if we're giving you a music degree, like there's these standards, and especially if it's never been done before, they're gonna have even higher standards because no one's done it. So someone has to set the bar. So knowing all of that now, I didn't know that at the time. That kind of paints the scene of why, here, we don't do ukulele here. Here's a classical guitar, because there was a classical guitar program. So when I jumped into that, my professor at the time, Ian O'Sullivan, I was very fighty with him. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want I want to play ukulele. Again, just very, I want to just play ukulele. Me. I want to do this. Again, I'm much wiser and more mature now, and I really appreciate him, first of all, putting up with me, and I thank him to this day that he put up with me and that younger version of me being all, I don't want to do this. But it's really the technical stuff that I learned from playing classical guitar, right hand technique, left hand technique, all these endless techniques that I learned that I went ahead and applied to the ukulele. That's literally so present in my current playing style. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't take 2 years of classical guitar. So what I thought was a step back at the time was actually what propelled me to be very fortunate to be able to have my own playing style and stuff like that. So that
It's
pretty much
interesting.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, and this is something that I had in a later question, but I think it kind of ties in right now, and it probably answers the question to me, but maybe I'm wrong. Was it that classical guitar training that I had a question there about you being a fingerstyle player, and that's kind of your I mean, yes, and you talk about it in your demos with Sean all the time. You're like, you do your fingerstyle thing, and then at the very end, you're like, I'm a fingerstyle player, but just so you know, here's what it sounds like when we strum, and you usually riff through something,
right,
which you're also awesome at. So don't shortchange yourself as being a strummer as well. But is the classical guitar training and education you did, is that what sort of just was a natural flow for you to just kind of gravitate towards being more predominantly and more of a fingerstyle player than doing some of the strumming?
So I would say even before I was a music major, when I was playing all the ukulele stuff and all the Jake stuff, and also various other artists that are ukulele players, I learned the whole spectrum in terms of strumming fast, doing hyper picking, doing all these crazy patterns, and doing all of, playing so much repertoire. I've always had I've always liked to play fingerstyle because I'm not a singer myself. So I had to put all my eggs in one basket in terms of just becoming a fingerstyle player. So it's funny how you kind of asked the question, is that when I went into being a classical guitar player, my Ian O'Sullivan was just like, man, I'm just going to give it straight. And he's a blunt guy, and I appreciate it because I'm kind of a blunt person myself. He's like, you're an amazing player, awesome guy. You have a lot of talent. Your technique is horrendous. Like, what? He's like, yeah, man, like you
Thanks,
shred,
man.
but like, oh my gosh, your hand looks so stiff, and you're doing this, and your finger movement is wrong, and your left hand is all over the place. And so I'm just like, and again, I never had a private instructor. He was my very first private instructor. So I never had anyone telling me like, hey, that's wrong. Hey, you shouldn't do that. Like I was always, just watching YouTube and playing for myself, and kind of just going down that rabbit hole for 6-7 years. And then all of a sudden, now this guy is telling me, hey, you suck. Your technique sucks, but you're talented, but your technique, man, you can be such a monster if you just switch your technique. So that's where the whole fighty part came, because I was just like, no, I know I got to this point just by myself with just practicing all these things and stuff. So like, I think I know what I'm doing. Again, I just cringe when I think about how I used to be when I was younger. But yeah,
we all do.
But it's because he told me that so bluntly. He's like, your technique sucks, man. But like, I want to change it because I think classical guitar will be really beneficial for you, and it's gonna really like level you up. So I spent 2 years just pretty much trusting him. Again, there's a lot of fighting back and forth, but in the end, I ended up trusting him. And literally, when I watch old videos of myself before I was a classical guitar player, I see what he saw now. But at the time, I was so blinded. So now everything is so relaxed and everything is super right hand, left hand classical guitar kind of methods and stuff. So that was kind of the kickstart to me changing and moving away from that style of like doing a lot of strumming, playing really hard, and doing all these fast stuff. And then it kind of shifted to me doing more like musical, more kind of classical, kind of bass kind of repertoire. But then the real kicker was when I met Dr. Yosui, and that's when he just completely, I mean, I could spend a whole interview just talking about how much I literally owe everything to him, but he pretty much took me in under his wing after pretty much begging him, like, please take me please take me under, I want to learn your ways and stuff. So because he's a retired professor at the University of Hawaii from 1972 to 2010, so 38 years, he pretty much ran the music department at the University of Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much any band teacher that's a band teacher right now or in the last 20 years had taken a class from him. So like
wow.
he is synonymous in the Hawaii music scene, whether it's because it was in the Honolulu Symphony or because he's a jazz bassist, he's an ukulele player, he was a teacher, someone's teacher, whoever's a band teacher here in Hawaii. I mean, he's just done so much for the state of Hawaii, for the music scene. So he took me in under his wing, and because he has such high respect from the music department, when he was working with me, him and then my music advisor, Dr. Kate McQuiston, they pretty much vouched for me to go ahead and like, we believe in Mika. Like here's the repertoire. This is what he's been working on. Here's, there's a lot of things that align. There's two things that also helped me to push my case. Like let Mika do a recital, let him do 10 songs and stuff. One of them was my junior year. I went ahead and got the most outstanding music major award. They only give that to 2 students every year, and they gave one to this super badass piano player who was I think a year younger than me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, she's a monster player. And then they gave it to me, and I was just like, why are you giving it to me? Like, what, like, these, like, do the professors even know what I'm doing? Like, I'm a classical guitar major, but apparently they like heard through the grapevines, or maybe Dr. Yosui was talking me up to them, but they heard about what I was doing. So I received that award, which is a $4,000 scholarship, plus it's an award.
Oh.
So it's a big deal. That's one of the more prestigious scholarships you can get as a music major. And at the time, they told me, we've never given this scholarship to a non-classical instrument player before. So you're the first non-classical instrument recipient. And it's the ukulele, so that's even more so. It's never been done. So because of that, the music department was just like, what's going on? Like, he's playing ukulele, but he got this degree because this award is voted on the faculty. So the faculty get in a room and they're like, we think Mika should get it. We think this piano player should get it. So that showed the music admin, they're like, the faculty voted Mika to get this degree or this award. Like, okay, so that was one thing to push my case. Like, okay, the faculty see something Mika, Dr. Yosui sees something Mika, and then my music advisor sees something in me. So, okay. The other thing that really pushed it over was that Dr. Yosui and I applied for this really prestigious Hawaii State grant on the Arts and the Culture Foundation. It's an $8,000 grant where I study for 160 hours under Dr. Yosui one-on-one, and he teaches me everything. He literally passes down as much as he can in that 160 hours. And then every fiscal year, I have to go ahead and do a presentation or a concert or something to, hey, this is what I learned. This is what he's been teaching me. So not only were we doing stuff on the side informally, we are also doing it through this grant by the state of Hawaii, where we had to produce all this paperwork and all of these handouts showing like this is what he's been teaching me and stuff. So because I did that, when the music faculty heard about that too, they're like, yo, that's a very hard music grant to get. And then even the admin were like, that's incredibly difficult to get. How did you get that? Oh, Dr. Of course, you're a Dr. Yosui. So again, that's where I was mentioning how all the stars aligned, because I was doing this and then this and then this and then this. And of course, I got good grades too, so that kind of helps. Like, this guy's a good student, so he gets his shit done. So when we presented my case, they're like, okay. And just like that, everything fell on my shoulders. Like, okay, so your capstone is, so they told me like, hey, it has to be this. You need these pieces. You got to do this. If you don't pass or you fail, you're not graduating. So I'm just like, also, by the way, you're the first one to do this, right? So no pressure. I was just like, and then of course, Dr. Yosui, his reputation, his name's on it. Like, he vouched for me. So he's like, hey, like, not to put any more pressure, but this is a big deal, not only for you, but for a lot of people backing you and believing you. So no pressure, just this 40-minute recital. No pressure, just nail it. Just don't make mistakes. So I think it was approved the semester before I had to give it. So like, I think in the spring semester of 2018, and then November 30th was that big day where it all came down to 40 minutes. Literally, if I failed that and I didn't like get the approval of the admin and the people who had to grade my recital and pass me, one, I wouldn't have got my graduate. Well, I wouldn't have graduated, wouldn't have got to my degree. But then I would be the reason why the doors closed behind me, because they finally took their shot. They put all their faith in me, and then I didn't come through. So why should they give that opportunity to someone else after me? So there's so much riding on me. So thankfully, when they're like, "You killed it. You did so good," my advisor, "You killed it. You did super good," and then the admin were just like, "Yeah."
Now,
congratulations."
how long after the performance did you find out? Was it right there, or did you find out like
Pretty much. Like, when I talked to my advisor, she's like, "You're good." Like,
nice.
there.
So you didn't have to like sit on it for a couple of days or anything like that. That's good, because that would have killed me.
That was insane. So like for me, like when I was younger, like maybe my first 2 years, I'll get really nervous, and everyone experiences this. Your hands get sweaty, it gets cold, you're shaking. But then there's a period where like maybe a few years after that, I didn't get nervous. I just kind of, I think I just managed to know how to conduct myself when I perform. Like I'm not, maybe it's a confidence thing, or maybe just I taught myself to like, hey, don't get nervous, it's not worth it, just all mental strength. So pretty much from maybe middle of high school all the way up until that moment, every time I had to play, I didn't really get nervous. I just went up and did my thing. This recital, because again, I tried to explain how much pressure was on me. Yeah. I think so. My recital is 10 songs long. I think by song 4, that's when my hands stopped shaking.
Oh.
So the first 4 songs, not only do I have to hit it, my hand is literally like this. And thankfully, when I rewatched it, or when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I did. At the time, I was like, oh, I'm literally treading water for my life, trying to make sure like I don't mess up, I don't stop, I don't cry on stage or whatever, because of all the pressure. But yeah, I was like 4 songs in, like I could not get my hands to stop shaking. Oh, and then I finally got into the groove by like song 5 or something, and then I finished it off. Yeah, just talking about it's already like getting me into that. Not PTSD, but like, oh man, that was a tough time for me in my music career or my music journey. So
is the recording of this thing posted somewhere or
no? I have it
anywhere?
I have it on my Google Drive, but I don't know. It's just been sitting. I don't really think about it until like it comes up into a conversation. But
you gotta put that up on YouTube. You gotta put that up on YouTube, man. That is like, that's honestly, I mean, and I'm sort of ribbing you about that, but in all honesty, it's a little piece of history. Honestly, it is. It's a historical moment. I mean, for you, for Dr. Yosui, for the university, for the ukulele in general, it's a little piece of history. It's insane. You may not think about it that way, but it really is.
I'm just happy that, of course, looking at it from my point of view, like, oh, I graduate. Like, yeah, like that was my main thing. I just wanted to graduate, and like I didn't think about the long-lasting effect. 5 years now in the future, looking back, I think I understand more of the significance. But at the time, like, I just need to pass. I want to graduate. Like, I want to, I wasn't thinking about the long-term effects. But now, of course, looking back again, if I didn't follow through that night and I failed or I messed up, the doors would have closed behind me, and then no one would have that, because you had that one guy and he messed it up for you, so sorry, or whatever, how the attitude might be. But because I did it and I proved like, hey, it can be done, now the music admin are going to be much more okay. Like if someone's like, hey, I want to play ukulele, it's like, well, okay, well, we have this guy who did it, so yeah, let's see what you got. But they're going to keep the standards high, but now they're much more open-minded, versus when I was trying to present my case, they're like, no, sorry, you got to be a classical guitar, or you got to do something else. That could just completely shut me. And again, I was so frustrated at the time, but I understand the predicament and the situation that they're in. So I completely, it's all good. No hard feelings. I completely understand.
But here you are, 18 years old, flying over from Maui and coming to college, music degree. You're like, I'm gonna, go over there and take the world by storm. And you walk in, and here's your classical guitar, and you're like, what the hell is this?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was a whole. Yeah, that was crazy. But again, it was a blessing. At the time, I was really frustrated, but it was a blessing in disguise because of that classical guitar training and because of all of those things and the stars aligning. It's really morphed me and shaped me to the ukulele player that I am today. So
Sure.
I'm grateful for the experience. Would I repeat the experience again? No, that was that was rough. I mean, that was tough, so hard.
Well, let's dig in on that a little bit, because I want to
Yeah.
hear what this 160 hours of Dr. Byron Yosui, brain transference.
Yeah. No, I mean, oh gosh, that's a whole nother interview too. So
Yeah,
essentially,
but at a high level, like what was that process like? I mean, this man clearly, and now I want to meet him, but clearly this man has just tremendous wealth of knowledge, years of experience.
he's doctor. He's professor.
So well known.
Yeah.
But then you get this grant where it's like he is literally brain dumping as much as he possibly can to you. And I'm sure not just transferring, but pushing you on, whether it's tests or whatever you had to kick back to prove to him that you were grokking
And
it
what
all.
really meant a lot to me too was during that 2 years, there was one point I'll never forget. I think we're in the car driving to eat dinner because we just had a 3-hour lesson, and that's how intense our lessons were. It was long, but he said you're literally gonna carry my torch when I'm not here anymore. You're the only guy who knows. Because he's never took on anyone before. He's done informal, you want a 1-hour lesson, or I'll meet up with you every so often. But he's really never worked with someone to that level ever before. And now there's pressure too, because now the state's involved, there's money involved, there's obligations involved. It wasn't just informal. For about 2 years, it was informal. I would just, go bother him every Wednesday after his class, and then he would just teach me whatever I want to know, or if he's like, hey, I think you should learn this and stuff. But it turned into something really serious, and then it turned into the whole, you're going to carry my torch when I'm not here. So that really put in perspective, yeah, I have a long life ahead of me, and I have a big responsibility to really honor everything that he's teaching me, and exemplifying it for others too. But trying to answer your question, what was that 160 hours like? So before that grant, it was very informal, like I mentioned. We would meet up pretty much. He taught a real beginning ukulele class at the University of Hawaii. That's how I met him. And he would have, he would finish around 3. So I would literally go see him. Even though I had all my other classes, I would go see him at 3 and bother him. And he would just, hang out, and we'd do an informal lesson for a few hours. And then, hey, let's go to dinner. I'll take you to dinner. And that was the thing. I was poor. I didn't have a job. I was just a full-time student. So he's like, when you get a full-time job, you can take me to dinner. I'm like, I promise. But he's like, I'll treat you. So get whatever you want on the menu. So I'm like, okay. So he would have these informal lessons, and he was pretty mellow and laid back. He didn't unleash his full cracking. He always said, I cracked the whip, buddy. He didn't do that until the grant came into play. So when that happened, we met still every Wednesday, or whenever. I think his class shifted to Thursdays, on one of the semesters or a few semesters. We would still meet for 3 hours from 3 to 6 p.m. Sometimes 6:30. So I do about 1 hour or 45 minutes, 1 hour private lessons with my students, and that's already kind of intense because I'm a very detailed oriented person. Well, I got that from him and Ian O'Sullivan. Sure. I got that very classical, detailed, orientated kind of stuff from them. But 3 hours, I mean, just me and him in this little box cubicle room, it's literally I could lie down one way and then not lie down the other way. It's just a small, and that's how the music rooms are situated at the University of Hawaii. But it's just the empty room with 2 music stands in front of me, in front of him, 2 black chairs, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, every Wednesday or every Thursday. And when we started doing that, his kind of persona changed, and he was much more serious, much more okay, you got to do this. Here's the worksheets. Okay, you got to play this for me, and you got to do this. And okay, next time when I see you, you got to play it faster than me. Or next time I see you, you have to play this whole thing perfect, or whatever it may be. Anything. It could be a new topic. It could be a new song. It could be a new technique. And just doing that for 2 years straight.
And you're going to school at the same time.
And I was still a music major.
Yeah.
And I still had
so you
all
already
of my
had
music
other
classes.
stuff.
I had all of my other obligations, but now this was extra. So that was almost like a part-time job for me. I know it's only 3 hours, on paper, but I mean,
no.
There's the joke about everyone who knows Dr. Sue, on a personal and a friend level, to be like, man, Byron gives migraines. would get migraine headaches because it's so intense. So I never literally got migraines, but like metaphorically, I literally had migraines after every session because not only was it so exciting to like see the ukulele and he's unlocking so many things about the fretboard and theory and arranging and composing and all of these things. At the same time, it was like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna memorize this? How am I gonna like practice this to his super high standards? But he treated me to dinner, so that kind of made my headache go away at the end of it. So
well,
it was
but
a nice
bro,
meal.
you had to have wanted to like crash in bed every night you got home from one of his 3-hour sessions.
Those Wednesdays and Thursdays were really long. And again, it's one thing to like go through it and sit through it and practice. Okay, do it again. Okay, do it again. Oh, you made a mistake. Do it again. Just that regimen. You had to have results the next time. Otherwise, we're not going to move on. We can't move on. And then it's like you didn't practice enough. I'm not. So I need to clarify something. So if he's all like, "Hey, don't make me sound like a villain. I'm not mean." Like, so he's not a mean person, but he's no. Oh no, I know, but like he's always
if he's going to take the time, he's going to be demanding about that.
He's like, hey,
right?
I'm serious, so like don't waste my time. So like, of course, I'm not going to waste your time. But it's always funny because when I talk about like our sessions and stuff, and he hears how I talk, like, man, you make me sound so evil. I'm like, no, but that's how it was. I'm like, you weren't evil, but like you were super serious and passionate, and like you really believed in me, so you're super into it, and you were like you're hard on me because you believed in me. Yeah, so that's kind of the preface to that. Like, it sounds like he's mean, but like that's just because he cared about me so much and he believed in me so much that he just went all out on me, and he like just beat me down. Not literally like I was crying or anything, but he beat me down so hard to where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm really committed to this. Like, I'm really going at it all at the same time while we're doing the grant. This is before the music department approved us, so they're still like, no, but I'll secretly in the background, like, okay, I'm prepping, I'm working on my front line to attack them, to present my, my proposal, but I was working silently in the background. But yeah, so that's kind of a surface level of how intense those 160 hours were, or just,
and we did dive into like the actual deep downs. I'm sure there was plenty of, and again, it's not trying to paint him as a tough person or you as a bad student or anything like that, but like I'm sure there were plenty of moments where like you were probably on the verge of just like saying screw this, or he's probably like what the hell's going like I'm sure there's plenty of them, right? Anybody that's been in any kind of a mentor-mentee relationship, it doesn't matter the subject matter, that's the case. And on top of it, you'd already mentioned this earlier, but you're the first person that he's ever done this with. So for him, it's a reputation thing, right? Like the man has been doing this for as long as he's been doing it,
and his and his techniques and his everything. He's been a musician 65 years of his life, 38 years as a doctor, professor at the University of Hawaii. So like a lot of weight was on him, and he always make the joke like, I'm retired, I should be playing golf. Just like, I'm retired, why am I working? So it meant a lot to me too. It was a respect thing as well. Just like you're literally taking yourself out of retirement to mentor me throughout my 3 years or 3.5 years of college, because he could be doing other things. He's retired, he put in his time, but he's literally, even though we have our 3-hour lessons, he's at home. He'd be emailing me documents throughout the week, like, hey, we're gonna work on this. Hey, save this for 3 weeks from now. Hey, you're gonna do this, and hey, send me a video of you doing this. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I still have all my other classes, and like I have finals and midterms. And he's like, no, we're still gotta do lessons. I was like, oh my gosh. So, but when you put yourself through that kind of regimen, you like it produces results, and that's how I was able. He really got me up to speed to be able to take on that gargantuan recital that I had to do, right? And that's why, even just talking about him, only just this much, this is just again the surface level of how much I did with him. I owe literally along with others, I owe literally everything. I would not be the person that I am as a player, as an educator, as a musician. I mean, he's taught me just so much things, even just beyond the ukulele, just how to be a good person, how to conduct yourself professionally. Like just literally he's like literally like my grandpa. He's like, I treat him like family. I think of him as family. So, yes, I worked hard. Yes, I put the time in, but if he wasn't there to guide me, then I'm just working hard for nothing. Like I can run around in a circle, but then he's like, hey, but run that way. Oh, okay. Or, just kind of that, like you can work hard and go in circles, or you can work extremely hard and have someone like him guide you, and then it produces results. So I still try to meet up with him at least once a month just to take him out to lunch, because Hey, I'm doing okay. He's like, hey, all right, treat lunch, all right.
I love it.
Super funny. So I try to check in on him because he's getting a lot older and stuff. So I make sure I check in on him and hang out with him and still pick his brain, and I always ask him questions. And the thing is, even after that grant in 2016, 2017, remember it's 2023, I still kept going. Even though he was done, he was just like, hey, you want to meet up? I'm like, absolutely. And we still did 3-hour lessons. It wasn't as strict, or because
Right.
like the grant was done, so it's like more informal now, but he kind of kept it up, and now I wasn't attached to anything, but I just kept going back to him because just like I was just trying to get so much information out of his head so that again I can be that, you're going to be my torch holder when I'm not here. You're going to be the guy that people are going to go to because I'm not going to be around anymore. I'm just like, wow, it's a lot of responsibility, but I'm honored to be in that position. Yeah, so
I love it.
that's that.
No, it's so cool. So, you talked about Ian O'Sullivan, you talked about, Dr.
Yeah.
Yosui.
Mhm.
Couple other influences I know, key to some of your world. I'm going to throw two names out. I know there's many others, but Bryan Tolentino, who
Yeah. Oh man.
many in the ukulele world know.
Oh yeah.
Love that guy. And then one who I'm a big fan of, but have not had the privilege to meet yet, is Benny Chong.
Uh-huh.
And I know that these two have been influences in sort of your life and ukulele
Yeah.
journey as well. And so talk a little bit about sort of what those two have brought to you and your world or journey as an
Right.
ukulele artist.
So starting with Benny, I'm just gonna. This is not to be argued. This is fact. He's the best ukulele player in the world, and he's the best.
Hey,
I
I'm
mean,
not
you
going to
can
argue with you.
if
I'm not going
I'll
to argue
throw.
with you.
You can ask Annie. You can ask Andrew Molina. I'm gonna drop names. You can ask Andrew Molina, Brittany Paiva. You can ask Jake.
Yeah.
You can
No,
ask
hey,
him. He'll probably be like, "Oh, Benny
Benny's
is the best ukulele player. I'll
oh,
play anyone."
dude, amazing.
He does
Yeah.
things that are just like, for musicians, are just like, what are you doing? So Benny is just an inspiration for all of us, including me. Just and as much as I've hung out with him a lot, and I've watched him at a lot of his gigs when he was used to gig at Gordon Biersch at the Aloha Tower Pier before they closed down because of COVID. I used to always watch him and Dr. Yosui, and then Dean Taba and Noel here in town, and they would play on Wednesdays or every other Wednesday, and I would just watch and record and watch, and I would ask him stuff, but it was just, again, it's just so on another level that I just couldn't relate, or I didn't know how to, like, what questions to ask, because it was just like he's doing stuff that's so alien and monster like. I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy it and record everything. So maybe when I'm 10 years older, I might understand a shred of what he's doing on stage. But so I asked him for some advice here and there, but a lot of it was more like, oh, okay, like, hey, you should do this, and when you do your arrangements, try add this chord substitution. Like, oh, okay. So Benny is definitely an inspiration in terms of, like, I hope to be 1% of what he is, like when I get to his age and stuff. So huge inspiration of just what the ukulele is capable of doing in the jazz sense, or just in general, like what you're physically able to do on the ukulele. And then Bryan. So Bryan I still consider him my mentor to this day. I don't see him as often because I've just been more busy with, all the things that I described earlier. But from 2015, he actually started inviting me. This is pretty much the same year I met Dr. Yosui in college. He started inviting me to, like, hey, you should come jam. And he literally, to this day, on Facebook posts, hey, come jam, come to my gig, come crash my gig and come jam. And
Sounds like Bryan.
I was he's still the same, even 8 years later from when I met him. And I was one of those few people, and it's so funny because he always talks about me, uses me as the example of, yeah, we always like have people, we say come jam, and Mika was always the one who came. So essentially, yeah, I was always the one that, like, took on that opportunity to come and jam and sit in, and he literally taught me everything about how to play with others, because I'm naturally a solo player, but because of him, and then of course when I worked at Ukulele site, I played with Corey on every single podcast and Kalea and all of them. I learned how to shift my, take off my soloist hat and put on the, hey, I'm an accompanist, or hey, I got to play with 2 other people, or I got to play with 3 other people. Bryan literally taught me everything to know about how to effectively play with other people, when, knowing your place, knowing that the spotlight's now is on you. If someone's taking a solo, don't be playing loud because it's like someone's talking and you're trying to talk over them. It's like all these metaphors and all of these just words of wisdom that came from his mouth. For literally 8 years, I've learned everything from him. So he's been mentoring me. He's taking me out to lunch and dinner. He's let me crash every single one of his gigs, no questions asked. I mean, he just literally pretty much almost took me under his wing, just like Dr. Su, but more, hey, Miko, this is how we gig. This is how you play with two ukulele players. This is how you play when you have an electric guitar player, Hale, and me on low G, and then you're a high G. Where's your pocket? Don't be playing when I'm playing. Don't be playing when Holly's taking. So like all of these things, and if you do that
Real world
over and
lessons.
over, real world gigging lesson, being professional in when playing with others and accompanying with other people, when you do that for years, I mean, at this point, 8 years, more the first 6 years, very frequently. Now I've been getting busier, so I try to go when I can, but just so much that he's passed down to me, how to just be like him, how to just sit in with anyone and know your place, and just be able to add he calls it fairy dusting. How do I fairy dust this trio? How do I fairy dust this duet? How do I fairy dust this band of five? Where can I find my pocket without stepping on toes and not just play to play and stuff like that? Musical awareness. That's the two words that I'll always think of him. Musical awareness is I owe everything to him too. So again, without him, if I didn't work with him or sit in with all those gigs and he mentored me through all those things, I would just be one of those guys, like when someone's taking a solo, I'll just be like, yeah, keep jamming. And I'm just like, I'm strumming louder than he's picking. I would literally be that guy, because until someone says, why are you playing when he's taking a solo? It's like, oh, I don't know. I thought I had to be playing. No, you don't do that. So because he taught me all of that, now I know, like, okay, don't play when someone's saying, or play softer. Use your thumb to do more of a brush technique so it's softer and you're complimenting him. Like, oh, so Bryan is, just a huge one of my top, even just current inspirations. Other inspirations too, real quickly, is like Troy Fernandez, who did all, Kyle Creative Boys did all the licks and the pickings and learning how to do like that Joaian kind of island contemporary kind of beat. Keahi Vai, Herbolta Jr. I mean, I literally told myself when I was watching him, like when I was in high school, like I want to play perfect like Herb, because no one plays more perfect than Herbolta Jr. He's a machine. He's an animal. So I was just really honored that I get to be friends with him today. Me and Corey did 2 podcasts with him on the ukulele site, and that was really cool to be able to play with him and talk stories with him. But yeah, I mean, just.
Yeah, I mean those names are just legendary. Yeah, and by the way, what you got to watch out for is when you put Bryan and Herb together. That's when the trouble starts to come out. You know, like you've seen the first episode with the round table that we did.
He always has a joke to say right at the right moment.
Oh yeah. No, those guys. It was that episode that evening was so much fun. To have that group of people in the room that we did was unbelievable. And Bryan was honestly the sort of late add to the thing. We had talked about him coming, and then he and I got on the phone, and I said, man, like if you want to be in it, I'm honored to have you in it. Because he got on the phone with me, and we had actually never talked. We had been kind of trying to connect for the last almost year, but every time it was like he's always super busy doing his thing and whatever. Yeah. And then we finally connected when I got to Oahu, and we get on the phone, and he's like, so Mike, let me, I kind of gave him some input of what I was going to talk about. And he goes, let me give you some thoughts. And it actually completely changed some of the path I went on for that roundtable. Yeah. And then I said, well, hey man, you want to be in on this thing? And he said, yeah. And it's so great because he truly is an ambassador of ukulele. Like, I mean, people call him that. He's a wealth of knowledge. He really is. But he's just a giver too, right? Yeah. He's a giver, and he so lives aloha. Like, we all talk about living aloha and that whole thing, right? He really does. He's all about, he talks about the lineage of, this person taught this person who taught, Eddie Kamai taught, Oda-san, and Oda-san taught, Herbolta Jr., and, these people taught these people, and these people taught these people. And it really is, that is such a uniquely Hawaiian ukulele thing, but specifically a Hawaiian thing. But he talks about all this stuff, and he really talks about sharing knowledge, and he really does give his time for that stuff. And a lot of people know who he is from some of the things that, maybe it's the social media stuff or
Yeah.
doing some of the Kamaka stuff or what he does.
Or doing
I
the
think,
ukulele live streams every Thursday.
yeah, or his
And
live
just
streams.
bringing on, Benny and Byron or me
Exactly.
at some point, and Jake and all the other artists here in Hawaii.
But then what a lot of people don't realize is, and he's talked about it a little bit, and he's spent time telling me about it, is the number of albums and artists, the albums that he's been on and artists that he's played with, where you wouldn't know
It's
that
endless.
he was even on there, right?
Yeah.
Like he's been involved with
Typo
so
and all.
many. Yeah.
They would spell his name wrong sometimes on the liner.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
Or is that his twin brother? But
Exactly.
That's also what makes him so legendary, is that he's literally played with every single one of the greats, and he accumulated all of this knowledge. And then now I just get a piece of that by just spending my 8 years or 6 to 8 years to just always asking and being curious, and just, being hungry for knowledge. And he's just been willing so much to just share with me and share with anyone else who really just, he always presented the opportunity, but you just had to come up, meet him halfway and grab it. So I'm glad that he created those opportunities, not only for me, but for others. And I was able to go in, and then he literally just took me out to dinner or lunch, or he would stay after an hour after the gigs finished. He could go home to his wife if he wanted to, but he stayed with me and made the wife wait for another hour because he wanted to go ahead and talk stories with me. So I was like, wow, this is, and he's retired too, so he could be doing other things, but then he would rather choose, spend his time with, hey, Mika, let's go lunch. Like, I want to give you some, pointers or some stuff like that. So going back to Dr. Yosui, he's retired. He could be doing other things. He worked his whole life, but he chose to spend time with me. So I have so much respect for that, just because I know how precious time is. So for them to give them my time, my respect, and what I can do is just trying to absorb and trying to do everything in the best way possible for them, to kind of just be kind of like a representation of them, a small representation of, like, when I try to accompany others, people be like, hey, you sound like Bryan, like hey, yes. you sound like Dr. Sue, like,
you're like, hold on a sec. Can I get my phone out and record? Can I record that? And can you say that again?
Yeah, one more
so
time.
I can repeat that.
One more time. Yeah. Video. Yeah, here. One more time.
Yeah. Bryan, you'd be proud. No, that's awesome. And, I think kind of switching into something, another area of work that you do is as an educator.
Yes.
A lot of that stuff translates into how you teach today. You talked a little bit about it already, of like, kind of some of how, you were trained by, Ian O'Sullivan and Dr. Yosui.
Yeah.
You said, even a 45-minute lesson with you can be intense and busy, because you do really kind of,
I'm very detail orientated. Just all my students who, if they watch this, they'd be like, "Oh, he's being nice about it." Yeah. but yeah, no, I'm very detail orientated, and I got that from Dr. Yosui and Ian, because they were very like that with me. So of course, I try not to be that like that on my students. I try to be, a lot nicer, more friendly, or more approachable in that regard. So it's, lessons are fun, and stuff like that. But
sure,
all my students know, like, yeah, nothing escapes Mika's ears, or everything, like. It's funny, I always make the joke, like, I can see everything, even though these are blue light glasses. I don't actually wear glasses, but it's like, I can take these off, I can still see it.
I can see it.
I can see it.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if parents or if these are adult students, if somebody's paying you for your time, you're ensuring that they're going to get the most out of of you as what you have to offer, right? There's I take lessons from Molina, who's one of the most laid back people you'll ever meet in your life, and
it's a Maui thing, something in the Maui wild.
It is.
Us Maui boys, we're pretty cool.
But even though his lessons are friendly and whatever else, like, he's not easy. He definitely push you. And so again, if he's going to invest that hour, and I'm going to invest that hour of time and money, then let's do everything we possibly can. And also, again, this is your reputation on the line now. So when those students are going out and they're playing like crap, and it's like, oh, where'd you learn to play ukulele? Oh, Mika Kane. Well, right. So again, you want to ensure that you know, that not only are they successful, but also it does reflect back to you as a teacher, just like any teacher of any discipline. It's the same thing. You know, your high school teachers, as much as we all want to, you know, not like your you know, elementary, middle, and high school teachers, like that's their job, is to, you know, you want to be well educated and they want to make sure that they give you everything they got. So, you know, but the thing that I want to go back to, and you mentioned at the very, very beginning, is that you taught kids who were incarcerated.
Correct. Yes.
For 4 years, you said?
Yes. From
Talk about that a little
2018
bit.
to
Like
2022. Yeah.
What you know, were these pretty, like, they were youth, obviously, so this was like juvenile hall kind of kid thing?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, youth,
like,
but some of them are like my height. Well, I'm 6'2",
but were they,
and I'm a big guy.
Well, you know, and were some of these kids like, you know, like serious crimes?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. So you weren't just teaching like kids that did like little stupid things. Yeah.
No, this is like where I don't want to talk down on them, but this is like where the hardest, like the most serious juvenile offenses, like if they're from Maui or they're from the Big Island or from Kauai, they get shipped off to Oahu to be in that's the main, you know, I think there's correctional facilities on every island, but if you're that bad, you get sent to the one that I was teaching ukulele.
It's like the halava of youth.
Exactly. It's where they put all the dangerous ones or the more serious offenders one. And you know, a lot of people give me the same reaction, like, what, you're teaching there? How is it? Why are you teaching? Like, how are you doing that? Like, that's crazy. But you know, at the end of the day, they're humans, and they were born into a situation that was not any of their faults, and they're dealt a bad card of hands, or you know, a lot of them it's about survival. They don't think it's bad. It's just, you know, I've had conversations with them. They're like, Mika, I gotta eat. My parents are both incarcerated. I'm on the street. I ran away from my foster home. I gotta eat. What do you want me to do? What do I do? I'm just like, well, I mean, I don't know. And it's crazy because I would have these kind of, it's like you're having these deep conversations and then you find out they're 14 and they're asking you these kind of life questions, like these morality kind of questions. And you're just like, oh my gosh. She's like, see? And then like you feel stumped because they're 14, 15 years old, but their world, like that, not maturity, but just like that cognitive, like kind of like thinking that I'm just like, oh my gosh, like we just really, for us, I guess more normal people, we don't see that side of that world, right? So it was a complete shift for me to learn about that kind of side of, you know, of the society, I guess, and being surrounded by that for 4 years. I was definitely nervous my first semester that I taught in there, which is the fall of 2018. But afterwards, I kind of learned how to navigate and, like, you know, be buddy with them. And, you know, what we're taught in school, especially when I got my master's in education too, is that, you know, there's this divide, like I'm the teacher, I know all, you're the student, you're here to receive the knowledge from me and stuff like that. But like you cannot have that kind of mindset going in there because they don't like teachers at the end of the day. They're like, nothing you teach me doesn't matter. I'm just going to go back outside and do the same thing. There's nothing you can do to change my life. I'm here. You know, again, it's crazy hearing 15, 16-year-olds talking like this because it's just like, I don't know what to say. So you kind of just have to like laugh it off or just like grow numb to it so that you can just go in there and do your thing. But I found that, like, literally as basic or as simple as it sounds, like not just respecting them, but just like not even just treating them fairly, but just care about them and like actually invest time and effort and show that you care about them. Not just like, okay, do this. All right. And, you know, you get irritated because they're going to push you and fight you and stuff like that. But like, I literally kind of became their friends, which is like a big voodoo in the teacher where like, you don't become friends with your students. There's that, you put that line in between you. It's professional teacher student, like obviously. Right. But like in that environment, you gotta do something different. So you gotta be like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Hey, you know, you got in a fight with a guard today? Or like, hey, like how you know, you good? You played basketball today? You beat your friend? You know, so you kind of get to learn who their friend groups are. You learn their personalities. You learn a little bit more about them because then they start to trust you. The biggest thing to teaching in there is you need to gain their respect and their rapport. If you don't have those, there's nothing. You can be the best badass ukulele player or whatever teacher in the world. They don't care. What are you going to do for me? I'm just going to go back out and steal again. Like, but there's nothing you can offer or help me with anything. So I'm just like, okay, so I have to go in there and really just like, how can I teach these students? Like that ukulele is like, you can like, you know, find a path, or you can you can use it to stay out of trouble or just make different decisions. Right. So, excuse me again, but a lot of it was just like learning how to cooperate and learning how to work with that population. Because what I was doing in there, you cannot do in a traditional classroom because you just cannot. It just doesn't work that way. But it was very successful in there to where I was cool with them. They trusted me. They would, like some of the other students, because it's very territorial, not gang kind, but very territorial, where if the alpha in the room of the module likes me, he'll tell the other guys like, hey, shut up, Mika's talking. And then all of them are like, so if you can, if you befriend the alpha in the room, they're going to back you up. They're like your TA, your teacher assistant. They're going to back you up. Like, hey, because trying to teach something. Hey, shut up. I'm just like, whoa, like, I would just be laughing because now I'm that comfortable around them, like, and stuff like that. So I would poke fun of them. I would make fun of them. I would, again, like, it was, I tried to be as professional as possible, but I had to like make it so it's a very safe environment, very comfortable environment. And a lot of what I've learned in there from teaching methods and just trying out very obscure things in terms of like, hey, you should try present it in this way, or you should teach this song in this manner, or you should teach this song and stuff like that. And I developed a lot. Like, I'm a very patient person, but that place teaches you really to be patient.
Sure.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot of some of my teaching skills just from being in that environment. As crazy as that sounds, right? It's like, how is teaching juvenile correctional like students have to do with you teaching a workshop in the mainland or having you teach your private students? But you'd be surprised when you're put in that situation, you're really put under like pressure. Like, how do you adapt and stuff, And I've been in some kind of crazy situations in there that I probably shouldn't say on here.
Well, we won't go into that
situations, but
but it teaches you how to break barriers, right? Like that, you can't get much bigger of a barrier than that kind of interaction, right? And
how do you gain respect or rapport with these individuals, right? To where like you're literally irrelevant in their worldview because like I need to survive, and play ukulele is not going to help me survive. So it was crazy, but I loved doing it. At first, I was like, oh man, this is kind of this is hard, but then you get used to it the more you do it, and I really enjoyed doing that, which is why the people who hired me were very surprised and like, why you're gonna work another year? You're good. You don't need to work. Like, no, I want to. Like, why? And it's just like, because I like helping them. I feel like I can make a difference. And one of my cool stories that I like to share is that there is this one kid who I think was like 16, and he was in there for 2 years, and he never told me himself, but he's like, Mika, I'm in here for some bad shit, but I don't want to talk. I'm shame. I don't want to tell you about it. But I heard through the grapevines from the other workers there, like, and I found out what he did. I was just like, holy damn, okay. But again, I don't look down on him. I don't judge him. Like, hey man, hey, what's up, man? I'm Mika. Like, I'm gonna teach you how to play ukulele. What do you know how to play? And they're like, oh yeah, I can play a little bit. So that's how I'm like super, happy and like positive, and I create a safe and fun environment for them. 2 years later, that guy was going to college.
Oh wow.
He became a college student, and he was taking college full time. Like program, like they have scholarships where people, juveniles at risk can go get a full ride scholarship at a community college, but they have to maintain certain things. He went on, and I don't know about today, like, but when I was still there last year, he would come and visit and stuff. He's like, hey Mika, I got an ukulele. I'm still jamming the songs that you taught me 3 years ago or 2 years ago. I'm just like, wow. He's like, I wanna play ukulele seriously. Like, I want to get good and stuff, but I'm gonna work on college and stuff. So I'm just like, I helped one escape that cycle, that endless cycle. So even just one, because I went through a lot of students in there because it just high turnover rate in there. But I know I got a few more, but at one I know for sure, like, hey, thank you for teaching me ukulele. Like, I never thought this would be something that I would really like. I'm just like,
that's huge.
So yeah, to me, like, it was like, this is me giving back. Like, this is the people that really need it a lot. And I feel like I'm just such a positive person. I know how to just go in a room and like just make good vibes and stuff like that with my personality and just create a good environment. And yeah, I had a lot of off days and bad days and kind of more dangerous days that happened in there. But like, you know what? It comes with the job, but I made the most of it, and I loved being in there, and it's taught me a lot about teaching, with that kind of population, and learning how to adapt to that into anything that I do with private lessons or teaching workshops or giving lessons or like, record lessons, whatever it may be. Teaching at the university, it just helped me to really grow as an educator. So I'm very grateful for those 4 years. Yeah.
So cool. I mean, amazing story.
Yeah.
Such an amazing story. Well, let's we got a couple more topics and before we wrap up. So switch into something a little lighter. So again, we brought it up at the beginning, but as some of the work you've done, but you have done demoing ukes for both the ukulele site and for
Yeah.
Ukulele Friend, and most recently you've been doing a lot for Ukulele Friend for Sean,
Right.
our good friend Sean Yakovone, and fortunately for you, getting to demo some pretty sweet, spectacular instruments, many of which are many of these back here have had Mika's hands on them, and then I just go in and play them, and it just what rubs it out, it just is like wah wah after that. But no, seriously though, you do get to play some pretty spectacular instruments, and no matter what level of instrument it is, when you're doing a demo, you want to make sure it's accurate and pulling the best out of that instrument that you can and things like that. How do you prepare for these, right? So I know Sean, you guys will record a series of videos and kind of he'll plan like a Wednesday, Mika's, because he'll tell me Mika's coming in on Wednesday night, ship me to you, can get it to me on Wednesday so that we can record it that night, right, when I'm selling something through him. But if you're recording 3, 4, 5 ukes in that night, how do you sort of quickly ramp up on those ukes before you go talk about them, right? Because you got to know the woods, and you got to know something about the builder usually, and then what you're going to play on that uke. Do you spend kind of talk about how you walk through that prep?
Yeah, so it all started back in 2017 when Sean invited me to his studio, which was half the size of what it is now. He actually broke down the wall and made it bigger now, so it's 2 rooms now. But
for those of you that don't know, because you may not even realize what it looks like when you see Mika doing those recordings, but when he says it was half the size, I mean, these were the place is smaller than you think it is.
It's small. Yeah, I mean, like 10 feet by 10 feet maybe. I don't know. It's small. But, but anyway, so 2017, he invited me, and at the time he was just like, hey, let's just do some sound samples, some demos. Like, awesome. This is 2017. I was pretty shy on camera compared to how I guess I'm a lot more comfortable on camera nowadays. But for the first, I say 3 years, maybe up to 2019, maybe even 2020, he would actually only have me come in to do sound samples, in which he would record me and like, hey, play a full song or play at least 2 or 3 minutes so we can get a good representation of what the instrument sounds like. So I was just, I guess, used to playing in front of camera, which is not a big deal. It's more talking in front of camera is a bigger deal. So I spent a lot of, I gained a lot of experience just playing in front of the camera. But during those years, even though I wasn't talking about them, hey, luthier, wood choices, sound, articulating my thoughts, between all of those sessions, I would always ask Sean, and it just goes back to me being curious with Dr. Yosui and Bryan, and hey, what's this, just being curious and asking and learning and absorbing while my brain was still young back then. But I don't make that young joke, but I was just so curious that even though I wasn't talking on camera for 4 years, I spent those 4 years asking questions. Hey, what is spruce? Which is such a silly question. What is spruce? But there had to be a time where what's cedar? What's the difference between spruce and cedar? What's rose? Like, what do you mean rosewood? What's a rose? So it all starts somewhere, right? But because I spent all those. Right.
A lot of people don't realize, don't know.
They might know Brazilian rosewood, but what does that mean? What's the tonal qualities? What's the stiffness?
Right.
How expensive is it? What part of the world was it from? Did you know it's illegal to harvest Brazilian rosewood right now? So stuff like that, right? So at one point I didn't know all these things, but because I spent years of just being curious, he'd always take me to dinner after our sound samples, and he would just always be open to, again, sharing. It's a Hawai'i culture thing. We just love to share knowledge and help each other out. Spent years asking and stuff. So it wasn't until I got hired at Ukulele site in 2019, 2020, when Andrew's like, hey, you're doing podcasts now with Corey. Like, I don't really know how to talk in front of the camera. Well, boy, you're going to learn real fast because we're doing these weekly. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Okay. So that really helped kickstart me getting used to talking on camera and being very natural and trying to be more, just be more myself and not be nervous because just something, the red light staring at you and all these lights, kind of, shining on me. So because I gained a lot of my experience learning how to talk, just, hey, this is a Koloha KTM. Hey, this is a Ko'olau T100. So you have to start somewhere, right? So I got a lot of my more core fundamentals from that. And then I guess Sean noticed like, hey, so like, you're working for ukulele site and you're like learning how to talk. So maybe we should start talking about the instruments rather than having my, customers read the description. I think it'd be cool if you talk about it. You can point out some things. You can talk about, hey, this is what spruce sounds like. This is what Indian rosewood sounds like versus Makassar ebony. So again, because I've been asking questions for all those years, everything was starting to click. When I was working for Andrew at the time and doing podcasts, I would ask Andrew, what do you think the difference between spruce and cedar and this combination and this string tension? And then Corey, with years and years of experience, Corey, what do you think this is? So again, just constantly being curious, asking, building up my, my base of knowledge of all these things, so that when Sean's like, hey, so let's start talking about it, I was kind of ready to go in a sense, even though I didn't have too much experience talking to camera. I've already been absorbing years and years of knowledge from asking a lot of experts and people who are very versed in this field. So then Sean would just kind of go, this is maybe 2021 now, like, hey, so like, this is, he'll show me UK. So this is John Kennard. He's in Carlsbad in San Diego side. And this is, he likes to do this. And this, he's known to do these bracing. So again, I'm just trying to like stuff into my head. Okay, so do you need a whiteboard? Like, no, I got it. I'll just memorize it. And then, so, at first, Sean would prep me like, okay, so any questions? This is, radius fretboard. This is, like a satin neck. This is this kind of headstock. These are these tuners. So again, so much information, but just trying to, you just put in the reps, right? So from 2021, 2022, you keep doing something over and over again. You get kind of good at it, or you would hope you get a little efficient at it, right? So by 2022, I think that's when I really started to feel really comfortable with just like, hey guys, Mika here, like my famous, hey guys, Mika here, and I'm bringing you this custom ko'olau and stuff, to where now we're at the point here in 2023 when Sean gives me a uke, I'm pretty much like beating him to it. Like, oh, look, it's curly koa, it's a ko'olau, oh, it's a T100, okay, Goto tuners, oh, so like he's already like doesn't really have to kind of say anything, because he just kind of knows, like, I can recognize, hey, is that Makassar? He's like, yeah, it is. And then it's like, hey, is that, so like I would start calling out all the specs. And then if I don't know, I'll ask him like, oh, what's that? But like, I'm trying to see if I like kind of quiz myself, like how much can I recognize without asking Sean? Because that's for my own good to be able to talk, more confidently in the sound samples. So nowadays he'll just give me a uke and he'll be like, yeah, so I mean, he'll tell me the things that he for sure knows that I don't know. But other than that, he's like, here's a more better, any questions? And I'll just look at it and be like, and I'll talk out loud like, oh, this. He's like, yep. And then, okay, let's go. And then I just go right in front of the camera. So it's very efficient nowadays because I've been doing this for 6 years. And if you keep asking questions and you keep trying to learn, and like even all the new little nuances, it makes me that much better, more confident when I'm in the video, and being able to be like, try to articulate my thoughts on what I hear about sound, the playability. Hey, this is German spruce versus Sitka spruce, and it's going to give you this sound versus cedar versus, like, I'm able to talk about all those things in depth because I've been doing it, for 6 years, but it's because I've asked questions during my downtime. When I wasn't doing it, I was still learning and absorbing and trying to just put all the, connect all the dots, so that when this moment came, he's like, you got to start talking about it. I'm like, okay. And then I've just been doing, I'm just like, okay. And then I've just been doing it ever since. So yeah, it's pretty natural now. So like I try to do everything, probably the first time saying this, everything usually with Sean is first take. I don't do takes. If anyone watches the sound sample, it's not spliced, it's not cut together. Maybe there might be one because I messed up once, but like I try to do everything first take because it's all about being organic and just being natural and being very honest, and just really creating more of that kind of friendly, like, hey guys, so yeah, I don't really know what this is, but it looks really nice, and man, like the curl, like, so I try to be very natural about it. It's not scripted. Sean doesn't have a whiteboard, like,
oh no,
he's just like, he's just chilling. He just trusts me that I'm going to do my thing. So yeah, there's no script. There's no, like, I'm memorizing this. Like, it's just cool. Just literally talking out loud my thoughts and trying to make it more of a conversation. Like, oh, wow, look at this. I didn't even realize this was there. Even though I was just looking at it, but I didn't catch that. And then they catch, the camera catches my live reaction. Just so it's more authentic. Yeah. Cause
well, you can tell
I'm trying to come across. Yeah.
The thing I love on your demos is, like, I mean, obviously the playing, the sound sample's great and everything else, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But what I love is actually all the upfront stuff. Like how detail oriented you are is it just translates right into this, because you'll take, whatever, one of these ukes and you'll, it's like, man, you're going to know pretty much everything head to toe about that uke before you start playing it. Like binding, purfling, rosette,
right,
tuners, you know, every material. And you talk about, you know, and you'll talk about like, you know, okay, you know, this type, you know, it's you know, this is master grade, you know, and it's just, it really, especially when you're dealing with, again, you know, in uke that these things are important for, but especially when you're talking about the types of ukes that Sean carries, because he's carrying higher end custom, pretty much one-off ukes,
right?
You know, the people that are going to spend this money on these things really do need to and want to know those details.
And the luthiers really appreciate it too, you know, because of how detailed orientated. You know, a lot of the luthiers will use Sean's and my sound samples on their website because
100%.
Mika explains it literally how I would want, like he plays it the way like I would want it to be played. So Sean tells me all the time, like, you would not believe the kind of responses, like you don't see it, but like because like he does all the customer service, but like you would not believe the builders who like appreciate what you do because you take 15 minutes out of your life to like just gush over their uke. I'm like, well, I am gushing. I love their ukulele. Like it's nice. It's a nice sounding ukulele place, but like, no, the luthiers really appreciate that you are so passionate and you're just so detail oriented. You're not just like, hey, so it's a ko'olau, yeah, it's nice, and yeah, check out the sound sample. You know, like it's very. I try to give it my all and try to give it as much respect and, you know, detailed as possible, because these are people's livelihoods. They'll spend 2 months building this uke all by themselves or with one person. I can't imagine the amount of time and effort they put on to it. So what can I do to try and really like showcase, like, look how perfect this is, and the detail to, you know, it's really appreciating the work and the hard work that they put into the instrument, and then like, this is what it sounds like. So it's really me just doing my part and really trying to exhibit these treasures. Really, I mean, these are the best of the best luthiers in the world, and all of them deserve to be recognized and know, like, to share with everyone, like, hey, this is a wonderful instrument, and this, you know, and stuff. I really try to stay away from trying to sell it, because I know at the end of the day, yes, we're trying to sell ukes, but I don't want to come across that way. I'm literally just there to share my thoughts. And sometimes I'll say like, hey, you need this, but that's because that's just organically what I would say. You should buy this because like, you really should buy it. Like it's a divine or whatever, or it's a more better. Like you should buy it if you're able to. But
or this is the best EEV yet.
Huh? Oh yeah, EV. You know, that's one of my favorites.
This is the best. This is the best EV yet.
Yeah,
is Mika's famous saying.
Charlie always improves his uke. It always keeps getting better and better. I just don't know how he keeps topping himself. But yeah,
I don't know. But the man is magic.
Charlie is an amazing man. He's an awesome guy. I got to meet him and talk stories with him at Ukulele site a few times. So he's an awesome individual. But again, these are these guys' livelihoods. So like, I feel so honored that, one, I have the opportunity to share and play all these instruments, but two, just being able to use my knowledge and my curiosity of years and years of learning and asking, and being able to present it in a 18 minute video for people to enjoy. So again, I love what I do, and yeah, it's an incredible opportunity. So the more I can do to share and have, you know, so people can make a very informed decision, like, wow, Mika said something I never even thought about, or he's hearing things I'm not hearing, but now I hear it because he explained it in a way. So always just trying to constantly improve to give a better sound sample, and be more professional. All right. So
I got one curveball question to throw in. It's not a big curveball, don't worry. Before I ask the final question.
Okay.
Outside, because we were just talking about all these demos, the answer cannot be Alcoa. Okay. So just note that. Favorite wood combo on an ukulele. And the answer cannot be Alcoa. Even I mean, that may be your real answer, but I'm going to take that one off the table. Okay. What would you say on that? After all these demos you do all the time.
So I'm definitely a rosewood guy. I don't really care too much for the denser. So this is all subjective because this is all, you know, what we hear as sounds. But like for me, I've always liked the warmer sound of rosewood. So like the less denser rosewoods, like, so not like Brazilian and stuff like that, but more leaning towards like Indian rosewood. It's more on the warmer side of the spectrum. It's not as dense as Brazilian rosewood. It's not dense like, you know, Macassar ebony wood, really dense, getting a lot of the low end responses with that. I like a more warmer, fuller, rounded body sound, which is what like Indian rosewood gives, which is why with my custom ko'olau that I got back in 2021, I wanted Indian rosewood because I like the tonal quality of that. Is it a boring wood? Yeah. Is it a lot cheaper than Brazilian? Yes, but you know, it's kind of a boring wood overall, right? But like, that's not the point.
But it sounds great.
I'm getting, the sound quality is what my ears really, or what I prefer. And then for the top, I'm a spruce guy, 100%. I love the clarity. I love the Corey always teases me because articulation is my favorite word that I use over and over again. But I love the articulation and the clarity of spruce.
Well,
it has such a
that's
high
what spruce
head.
does.
Right.
That's what spruce.
Right?
That's why you get is spruce. Is if you're going to be a fingerstyle player, you're going to get those articulate.
You need that clarity. If you're trying to bring the melody out, you want to make sure that everything's super clean cut and very, just it has that shimmer to it. It has a high headroom so that you can dig into it and it doesn't like start to buzz or anything. Like it can project really loud. So I'm a huge rosewood spruce kind of guy. So my specific build for my koala was a Indian rosewood and then a German moon spruce top.
Ah, beauty.
Now, no particular reason why I chose German spruce over Sitka versus Engelmann versus Adirondack versus. Well,
there are. I mean, and there are benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get into that. We won't go into that tonight. But I will say that those the Swiss, German, Italian, alpine moon spruce type woods, they are known for that articulation, that clarity that you're talking about versus Sitka is known for some, Sitka and Adirondacks are those ones like on a guitar, at least, you can really like,
especially Adirondack with Martin back in the 40s, like that was the legendary spruce.
Exactly. Like dig in on it and all that kind of stuff. So no, there are tonal qualities. So it makes sense that Noah would have, probably steered you towards, that variety of spruce. So no, it totally makes sense.
And then another combination that I've been it's a classic guitar combo, right? Or a classical guitar. If you're not getting rosewood and cedar, it's rosewood spruce, right? So another combination that I've been curious to try, but I don't own a uke, and I've tried ukes that had this combination, was a walnut cedar or a walnut redwood or something like that along those lines. Because walnut, to my ears,
right back there.
Another one of my top favorite. Love Bruce Petros' work, or Petros. I love his work. It's some of my absolute favorite. How warm and the sustain on his ukes. But walnut has a very warm quality. It's in the mid range, but it's more on the rosewood side of the spectrum. So you kind of go in that direction, like to say this direction. It still has a lot of that mid range that koa has and mango has, but it's more like it kind of leans on one side to being on that kind of denser rosewood kind of sound. So I've been really interested to try out like walnut, especially like 5A curly walnut can look incredibly, gorgeous and stuff. And then trying it out with like say a redwood, like sinker redwood, you get a much more rounded, warm kind of soft top kind of sound, or even cedar, because cedar you can still get some punchiness with it, but it's overall a warmer sound. So trying to maybe dive into that wood combination, but we'll see when that uke ever comes to fruition. But those are some of my favorite tone woods. Yeah, awesome. And of course koa is great, woods. But yeah, those are my kind of tone woods.
Yeah, I pull koa out, especially when I'm talking to a Hawaii artist, because a lot of times they'll be like, "Oh, I'll koa." I'm like, "Oh, come on, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna push.
Must be a come off the artist.
I'm pushing. I'm not saying any names. No, I'm just kidding. But it always just makes it, so and most ukulele people will say koa because it's just the traditional, right? So that's why I pull that out of that.
The pretty, arguably one of the prettiest aesthetically looking woods you can get. Yeah. Koa just
I got all these combos back here, but but I got
you can have 10 koa instruments and they're all uniquely different from each other, right? That's
exactly
that's the beauty of koa. So
exactly. So last question before we just wrap up for today is what's next for Mika? What's coming up in the next 6-12 months for you?
Yeah, so I'm so excited to, I guess, announce publicly, because I still didn't get on a podcast yet to really announce this, but this 2023, even though we're halfway through, I've been opening myself up to wanting to go to some festivals around the country, around the United States. And I actually recently just came back from Altoona, Pennsylvania for the Allegheny Soiree Ukulele Festival, which was wonderful. It was hosted by Mike Holzer and his team of people, and it was a wonderful experience. Any of you who are in the Pennsylvania area or like a close surrounding state, usually it's done around the April time. You go check it out. It was a wonderful experience for not only for me as an artist, but even the people who attended. It was a wonderful experience. I do have the Midwest Uke and Harmonica Camp that's coming up from July 8th to the 10th in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm super excited because another Maui boy, Neil Chin, us Maui boys, we're going to tear it up there. And, we're just going to be some other great artists up there, ukulele and and Bernadette and some other people too. So it's gonna be a really exciting lineup, and it's gonna be a 2-day intensive camp. So we're gonna be with the people all day. Really looking forward to that. And then in LA, first we have the LA Ukulele Festival too. That's coming up September 22nd and 23rd, and it's gonna be a zoo because there's gonna be 10 Hawaii people pretty much at that. We have Nui, which is Bryan, Tolentino, Haleako Seabury, and Kamal Hopkins. We're gonna have Ayla Grimes, who's just a monster player, who's another kolau artist, just like me.
Yep.
But Abe is just an absolute monster player. And then we have Corey and Calais, who they're gonna be there. So, and then I'm gonna be there alongside with them. So we're kind of like the ukulele site boys. They're gonna be all in one festival, which is incredibly rare. So props to Mitch Chang, the organizer, for rounding all of us up together. And then also Craig and Sarah, my guardian angels in the teaching world. I owe so much. I didn't even get to talk about them, but I owe so much to Craig and Sarah. They're awesome. They're angels, or Craig's an angel too, but Craig and Sarah are angels and been so helpful and supportive of me in my teaching, side of things, and really supporting me and all the various other artists. So big shout out to Craig and Sarah. But they're also going to be at the LA Fest. So yeah, that's pretty much 10 of us. 10 Hawaii people that's going to be up there. It's going to be super exciting. So I have some of my students that's flying out from different parts of the country to come check, not only check me out, but check out Corey and Calais and check out some of the other star-studded lineup. So it's going to be a wonderful time. But yeah, I hope to do some more festivals in 2024. And we'll see if I'll be reaching out to some people, or I guess if people want to reach out to me. I don't know why they would want to reach out to me, but if they're interested,
come on now, man. Come on now.
I'm just here doing my own little thing, just trying to do my lesson, and I do my sound samples and stuff, but I'm kind of I'm not one to like to be in the spotlight. I kind of just do my thing. If you guys know me, you know me, sweet. But if not, it's all good, because I just want to share my passion regardless. But I would love to travel more and meet more people out there and be able to travel the US, and with something that I love to do, to play and teach as well. So that's pretty much what I want to open myself up to, is try to be more available in person outside of Hawaii, because it's expensive to come to Hawaii, and yeah, just if I can go to another state and be part of a festival and meeting other, of the ukulele artists in the scene, or the ukulele teaching circuit, that would be really amazing too, and to link and connect with other people too. So
well, it gets you out, gets you to see some places. I mean, these are some of these really are towns exciting that you wouldn't necessarily, know to go to.
Right.
So it's awesome that you're getting out to do that. So no, you definitely deserve to be at more of these festivals and seeing folks. We got to get you over to. Should get you over to Reno. That's another big one.
I love Reno.
That
would
be a fun
Tahoe.
one.
Yes,
it is.
Yes, Miguel's Mexican food, so good. Such a good place to eat in Reno. Yes, but I love Lake Tahoe. Awesome. So yes, that would be wonderful. Absolutely
awesome. Yeah, my boys from Tide are right over there too. So
yes,
yeah.
I just sound sampled one of their stuff maybe 2 sessions ago. Their concert.
That's right.
That thing was killer. So
yeah, they built a good uke. So, well, buddy, man. You've given me and all of us who are watching more than enough time. I'm so grateful. Seriously, this has been awesome. I'm 7 episodes in, and I'm just floored by everybody's generosity of time and sharing their stories. This is turning out to be a lot more fun than I even realized it was going to be. So.
No, and thanks for giving us a platform to be able to share, a little bit about ourselves and what we're doing and how we're trying to contribute to the ukulele scene, or the ukulele, the ukulele world. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, bro.
As well.
Yeah, man. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. And everybody, have a great one. Please subscribe. Please check out Mika Kane at all his different places. All of his links will be down below. So be sure to check him out. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you.